Now, for those of you who are new viewers to this channel basically tries to make wines and meads as simply as possible using as many ingredients that you can purchase at the store as possible. We don't make fancy wines here. We make them as simple as we can. And to make this wine, what we're going to be using is a 1 quart container of Zinfandel red grape concentrate. Acting as our acid blend substitute, we'll be using the juice of 1/4 of a lemon. Acting as our tannin substitute, which is what is sometimes used to provide a little bit of astringency on the wine at the back end. Sometimes they'll use oak chips or oak barrels to achieve the same results. We'll be using 1 black tea bag. We're going to be using a little bit of a homemade yeast nutrient, so we're going to need a little bit of active dry yeast. This time around, I'm going to be using a Red Star Premiere Classique wine yeast. Using this one because it does have an AVB tolerance of about 15%, and it is really used for Zinfandels and deep red wines to keep that color and character. We're going to need enough clean filtered water to bring our measure up to 1 gallon. We're going to use either a 1 gallon or in this case a 4-liter carboy. We are going to need an airlock with bung. I'm going to be using an 8-quart pot. If you have one, a hydrometer will come in handy. And of course, by using your sanitizer of choice, you want to make sure that everything has been properly cleaned and sanitized before we start making this wine. And that is what we are going to be using to make this wine. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to pour off a quart of our 1 gallon of water. That's 1 liter for you non-imperial folk. Since we're going to be adding a quart of concentrate, we want to make sure we got our concentrations correct. Now that we're over the stove, we're going to go ahead and pour off anywhere from 1/4 to 1/2 cup of our remaining water to a small pan, pot, whatever. Don't need to be precise. And the remainder, we want to go ahead and pour that into our larger pot. Let's go ahead and pour in our concentrate. Getting as much of it out of the bottle as possible. And yes, I do intend to rinse this and get any remaining that might still be in the bottle. I'm going to go ahead and turn our heat on. And over here, we want to go ahead and add in our black tea bag, which is going to act as our tannin substitute. And also our 1/4 teaspoon of bread yeast, which is going to act as our yeast nutrient. Turn the stove on that, and we just want to bring that up to a simmer. And this might go a little bit faster if we put our lid on. Now, the purpose of using the stove to heat up our juice and our concentrate is that this channel doesn't use sulfites. So ordinarily, where most people would simply drop in a Camden tablet, call it a day, wait for it to work, we want to make sure that we kill off any of the wild yeast or some of the other bacteria that might still be on there. Can't kill them all, but we can at least do a good job. So we just want to bring the temperature up just to a very low boil, really no more than 165 degrees really is all that we need. Okay, let's see what we got here. I'm going to take a quick temperature reading to make sure that we're above that 165 that I'm looking for. I mean, this is not super critical. If it's at a low, if you don't have a thermometer and if you see it at a low simmer, then, I mean, that's more than good to go. Right now, I'm looking at about 172. More than I need, but Don't need no more. So I'm going to turn the stove off here. And with regard to our yeast nutrient / tannin substitute, and this is the first time I decided to just put them all in one pot. Let's go ahead and add that to the mix. Set that aside. Put our lid back on. And wait for that to come down to room temperature. All right, taking that initial hydrometer reading, it looks like our reading is coming in at 1.084. Let's go ahead and add in our acid blend substitute. And that is all I'm going to put in. Good opportunity to give this a nice, good, vigorous stir. And what we want to do is try and incorporate a little bit of additional oxygen, help the yeast out early on. Now, if you prefer, you could actually do this in the carboy. Just pour half of it in, give it a nice, good, vigorous shake for about at least a good minute or two, and then go ahead and pour in the rest. And I think that's going to be enough for now. Put the lid back on. Now, normally in my videos, I would just simply transfer the juice into a carboy, sprinkle the yeast on top, label it, put it away, and call it a day. But in honor of the occasion, we're making a Zinfandel, which is one of my preferred wines. I am going to bloom my yeast. So I've got a quart of a teaspoon, which is my usual measurement. You can use more if you like. And I'm just going to let the yeast hydrate before adding it to our carboy. Okay, I've taken the opportunity to go ahead and fill up the carboy. I thought I'd spare you the 30 to 40 seconds it would have taken me to show you me filling it. And before adding in the last of the yeast, I'm going to give it that one last good shake. All right. Take my cap off, put my funnel in, and go ahead and add in our yeast. All right, with that having been done, take our airlock, which has been filled. This time I'm using a mixture of star sand and water as my liquid. Go ahead and put that in nice and firmly. And move on to the next step. Okay, it is now time to label our creation. We are making, hopefully, a Zinfandel wine. Additionally, we started it on this date, May 13th, 2022, and our starting gravity was 1.084. Now, that was the easy part. The hard part's going to be that for the next, 6 or 7 weeks, we're going to keep an eye on this someplace out of direct sunlight. Dark would be better. And then we want to make sure that after that time we rack it, if need be, should the layer of yeast at the bottom starts to exceed anywhere between 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch, into a secondary carboy, and continue that process as necessary for the next several months. Now they say Zinfandel doesn't really start getting ready until 2 years of fermentation. We will be doing a 1-year fermentation, which is about the time that I intend to bottle this. And if I'm still around in 2 years, we'll do another tasting to see if things have improved. Now, the winemaking process that usually occurs after this, you can find in a playlist that I have on my channel playlist page under winemaking operations. If you wish to follow along with any of the steps that occur after this. Now, here it is, 1 year or 12 months since we first started making our Zinfandel wine from concentrate. It's now time to do a 12-month tasting. Now, remember, this is a 2-year experiment, so this is kind of like the halfway mark. We're going to find out if we're getting somewhere or until we get nowhere. For that, these won't be bottled for quite some time. I'm still trying to decide whether or not I want to put in oak chips during the second phase of the fermentation process, or continuation of the second phase of the process. I've got a bottle of Zinfandel, store-bought, and I'm going to be using that kind of as a reference. This is not like top shelf Zinfandel or anything like that. I needed to get this bottle anyway because what I take out of here for the tasting, and this is going to be racked immediately after this video, I'm going to use the Zinfandel to basically bring the level back up to where it should be so that I don't have a lot of air sitting in my my cardboard. So that's what I'm using to make up the difference. Now, to begin, let's go ahead and crack this bad boy open. Put it way over here. And smells okay. I am going to take a hydrometer reading a bit later on, but for the moment, I just want to find out what I've got here. Well, I won't say it's clear. It'll take some time. It's got a little opaqueness to it. It smells sweet, which is a good thing. Hint of alcohol at the back end of the nose. So let's see what we got. Definitely going to have to back sweeten this one when I bottle it. That's for sure. It's dry. It's got a lot of fruity flavor, but it's kind of hard to compare it to a store-bought bottle of Zinfandel because it's got no sugar in it, basically. I mean, it's Zinfandel. You can tell that it's not a Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon or anything like that. It's missing something though, apart from sugar. If I had to quantify it, the closest thing that I can come up with kind of like it's not an aftertaste, but it's kind of like once that sip gets past the tongue and it's down the throat, it has kind of like a seltzer water flavor to it. It's not heavy. It's not heavy on that. It's basically kind of like it's like real light on the back end. I'm thinking once I add sugar to this, to give it some body, because it doesn't really have a whole lot of viscosity to it at all. It's not thin or anything like that. I mean, it's not like watered down. I mean, the flavor is there. But it's just lacking something. So I'm not going to back sweeten it at this point in time. That will be done in another 7 or 8 months when I decide to get around to bottling it. I am going to take a hydrometer reading, probably off camera. I'll try to insert that scene somewhere in this video, probably here. All right, looks like that hydrometer reading is coming in at 0.992. And with that reading having been done, we're going to go ahead and put our airlock back on. Go ahead and rack this. The last racking for this was 10, 11, 12, 6, 7, 8. It was 8 months ago. Things have been kind of busy. I haven't had time to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and rack it, put it aside. I probably will put in some oak chips just to give it that oakiness. Just a little bit of oakiness from the tannin, so on and so forth. But there we go. This is where we stand at 12 months. It ain't ready for prime time yet. That's for doggone sure. Now I see why it takes 2 years plus for these wines to come of age. So that's what I'm seeing here. So again, we'll see this one again in 12 months' time. See how it goes then. Till then, I'll see you in the next video. Okay, it's now been 2 years since we first made our Zinfandel grape juice wine from Concentrate. Again, this was born in 5/13/2022. AVB came in at 11.81%. It was back sweetened, and it was not pasteurized. Now, we're going to try a little something different. We're going to do a comparison between the least expensive, cheapest bottle of Zinfandel that I could find on the grocery store shelves. This one, without naming the vineyard name, was born in 2021 from California, Old Vine Zinfandel. Differences between that also are that this one has an ABV of 14.5%, and unlike mine, this one contains sulfides. So we're going to find out, I'm going to find out and tell you what I found, what the taste differences are between homemade stuff versus the store-bought stuff. And we're going to get right into this one. Move these out the way. Crack open mine first. Now, from the onset, I have no illusions that mine is going to taste better than this. Okay? It might be drinkable, but it's not going to be all that. At least based on the 1 year taste testing. Maybe that extra year, a little bit of extra aging might have helped. And crack open this one. And no, I'm not cutting the aluminum cap or anything like that. I'm just going to open the doggone bottle and be done with it. All right. That is that. All right. That out the way. Pour a glass of mine. Yeah, look for a small glass. And a glass of the store-bought stuff. All right. Let's do it this way. All right. Really kind of hard to tell. However, in terms of clarity, I would say the store-bought stuff is just slightly clearer than stuff I made. That's got a weird aroma to it. It almost has like a chemical smell to it. Kid you not. With this one, you can smell the grapes. On this one, it's kind of, really, I'd say just on smell aroma alone, mine is coming out the winner on this one. Really? Oh my God. It's not until you compare something side by side that you begin noticing some serious major differences. Definitely got a chemical smell to it. I don't think chemicals were involved in it other than the use of sulfites, but if I were just grabbing 2 glasses of wine and deciding which one that I would rather drink, this one versus this one, I'm picking mine. However, the nose could be deceiving. Let's see how it tastes. Starting with, I'm almost afraid to drink that one. And I've bought this before. I've drunk this before. It's like, okay, I need a cheap bottle of Zinfandel. I might as well go with this one. I don't think I'll be doing that anymore. Hold on. Mine. I mean, I'm not going to go into fruity aromas. It smells like chocolatey or grapes or whatever, or whatever aromas that normally would be mentioned. Say, for instance, unusually rich concentrated flavors of blackberry, black cherry, and raspberry, wrapped in a blanket of smooth vanilla and oak. Mine was just bottled in a recycled wine jug, fermented in a recycled wine jug, and bottled in there. Is this one of my recycled bottles? Well, they're all recycled, but nonetheless, I don't care what the label says it's supposed to smell like, taste like. It's kind of hard to get past the smell. I've been drinking this before. It's definitely a bit on the drier side. That aroma comes through somewhat in the tasting as well. I gotta stop buying the cheap stuff. One more time. Oh my God. Let me clean my tongue off a little bit here. I'll be damned. And I'm not just saying this to say it. I'm just simply saying it that this stuff, even though it was not aged in oak caskets, even though it doesn't have sulfites, even though it doesn't have just plain vanilla fermentation, tastes a hell of a lot better than this stuff. I'm almost tempted to show you the name of the vineyard, the winery that made this stuff. But I do know this, having done this tasting. Oh my God. Yuck. I didn't think it would be that way. Now, I'm not saying that the stuff that I made is better than most of the Zinfandels that I've had in my lifetime. If I spend some money on a decent bottle of Zinfandel, I'm usually pretty happy. But with this stuff, oh my God. No, afraid not. I mean, I might even back sweeten it, right? Adding a little bit more sugar later on. I mean, $9.99. I mean, that's $9.99. That's money I spent out of my pocket. So I'm gonna drink this, but it won't be drunk in the sense that it's blind to what it could be like. I mean, I know it's not great for that price. It's not great. I've actually had better in that price range, and I'm surprised by this company name, but I've had better in that price range. This ain't it. You could avoid inhaling and just simply go for the sip. Oh my God, it's off. uh, I'm sorry. I mean, I've made some stuff that, has been kind of questionable at best. Some of the more exotic blends that I've made that I'm clearly never going to be making again. Price-wise, I mean, I'll still go out and buy store-bought Zinfandel, $20, $30 range, if I want something decent to drink. That's not something I'll ever be buying again. The same price, basically. You got the time, like 2-3 years, you can make your own from that concentrated stuff. I mean, if you can get grapes, great. If you can't, the concentrated stuff is your next best option. It produces a drinkable wine. This one kind of like destroyed my taste buds. I can still taste it. Seriously, it has a chemical-like taste to it. I mean, mine doesn't really have, even though it's not totally clear, it's clear enough. Even though mine doesn't have I forgot what I was going to say. Even though mine doesn't have a totally clean taste to it, it's not crisp, right, and stuff like that, it's a hell of a lot better than that crap. I shouldn't call it crap. I'll just simply say I'll never be buying that again. Hey. Yeah. I like mine a lot better. Well, keeping this in short, I haven't done a video in like weeks, months, close to months. I'll just simply say, if you want to give it a try, getting from Concentrate, I don't know if there's a link in the description showing where I got this. I'm not an affiliate or anything. It was just me trying something new. I wanted to try both a Zinfandel, a Merlot, and a Chardonnay from Concentrate, because I don't live near a vineyard. I live in the middle of a city. To see what the results would be without resorting to any of the oaking or any of that other stuff. Even though I've got oak chips, I never really used them. Resorting to anything else other than a basic fermentation. It's worth the effort, considering. But again, there's certainly far better store-bought options out there. This just didn't happen to be one of them. With that having been said, it's going to be a little while for my next video, but nonetheless, if you like what you see here, click on that subscribe button. You can become a Patreon if you like, although granted, the channel is pretty much going to come to an end by the end of the year, close to the end of the year, but subscribers are always welcome. So, till then, see you in the next video.